Saw, dude. What up? Happy Thursday. Um, Welcome back. I am hardwired in to my router now, so I'm hoping I don't have any Wi-Fi issues today because my Wi-Fi is turned off. So do let me know if this stream goes down at any point, because I'm gonna be deep in reading Book 2, Chapter 8, Farewell to Lórien. We're going to get right into it today. I'm trying to think if there's anything I forgot to say last week, but I feel like I really got into it at the end there. Saw, welcome in. We're representing today. It's Rogue Print Co. or Die. But yeah, I'm just going to get going, honestly. So, Book 2, Chapter 8, Farewell to Lórien. That night, the company was again summoned to the chamber of Celeborn, and there the lord and lady greeted them with fair words. At length, Celeborn spoke of their departure. Now is the time, he said, when those who wish to continue the quest must harden their hearts to leave this land. Those who no longer wish to go forward may remain here for a while. But whether they stay or go, none can be sure of peace, for we are come now to the edge of doom. Here, those who wish may await the oncoming of the hour till either the ways of the world lie open again, or we summon them to the last need of Lórien. Then they may return to their own lands, or else go to the long home of those that fall in battle. There was a silence. They all resolved to go forward, said Galadriel, looking in their eyes. As for me, said Boromir, my way home lies onward and not back. That is true, said Celeborn, but is all this company going with you to Minas Tirith? We have not decided our course, said Aragorn. Beyond Lothlorien, I do not know what Gandalf intended to do. Indeed, I do not think that even he had any clear purpose. Maybe not, said Celeborn. Yet, when you leave this land, you can no longer forget the great river. As some of you know well, it cannot be crossed by travelers with baggage between Lórien and Gondor, save by boat. And are not the bridges of Osgiliath broken down and all the landings held now by the enemy? On which side will you journey? The way to Minas Tirith lies upon this side, upon the west, but the straight road of the quest lies east of the river, upon the darker shore. Which shore will you now take? If my advice is heeded, it will be the western shore and the way to Minas Tirith, answered Boromir. But I am not the leader of this company. The others said nothing, and Aragorn looked doubtful and troubled. I see that you do not yet know what to do, said Celeborn. It is not my part to choose for you, but I will help you as I may. There are some among you who can handle boats, Legolas, whose fair folk know the swift forest river, and Boromir of Gondor, and Aragorn the traveler. And one hobbit, cried Merry. Not all of us look on boats as wild horses. My people live by the banks of the Brandywine. That is well, said Celeborn. Then I will furnish your company with boats. They must be small and light, for if you go far by water, there are places where you will be forced to carry them. You will come to the rapids of Sarn Gabir, and maybe at last to the great falls of Rauros, where the river thunders down from Nem Hithoel. Oh, I'm in trouble. And there are other perils. Boats may make your journey less toilsome for a while. Yet they will not give you counsel. In the end, you must leave them and the river and turn west or east. Aragorn thanked Celeborn many times. The gift of boats comforted him much, not least because there would now be no need to decide his course for some days. Procrastination station, I love it. The others, too, looked more hopeful. Whatever perils lay ahead, it seemed better to float down the broad tide of Anduin to meet them than to plod forward with bent backs. Only Sam was doubtful. Surprise, surprise. He, at any rate, still thought boats as bad as wild horses, or worse. And not all the dangers that he had survived made him think better of them. All shall be prepared for you and await you at the haven before noon tomorrow, said Celeborn. I will send my people to you in the morning to help you make ready for the journey. Now we will wish you all a fair night and untroubled sleep. Good night, my friends, said Galadriel. Sleep in peace. Do not trouble your hearts overmuch with thought of the road tonight. Maybe the paths that you each shall tread are already laid before your feet, though you do not see them. Good night." The company now took their leave and returned to their pavilion. Legolas went with them, for this was to be their last night in Lothlorien, and in spite of the words of Galadriel, they wished to take counsel together. For a long time they debated what they should do, and how it would be best to attempt the fulfilling of their purpose. Just real quick, I'm getting called out in chat. The elven tongue is not my friend indeed. Thank you. I am a common speech enjoyer. I am a Westron enthusiast. I do not speak the elven tongues, all right? I am not elf friend. I'm a pervy hobbit fancier. And if you get that reference, we're best friends. So for a long time, they debated what they should do and how it would be best to attempt the fulfilling of their purpose with the ring, but they came to no decision. It was plain that most of them desired to go first to Minas Tirith and to escape at least for a while from the terror of the enemy. They would have been willing to follow a leader over the river and into the shadow of Mordor, but Frodo spoke no word, and Aragorn was still divided in his mind. Saw, what up? In chat, thanks for being here. His own plan, while Gandalf remained with them, had been to go with Boromir, and with his sword help to deliver Gondor. For he believed that the message of the dreams was a summon, and that the hour had come at last when the heir of Elendil should come forth and strive with Sauron for the mastery. But in Moria, the burden of Gandalf had been laid on him, and he knew that he could not now forsake the ring if Frodo refused in the end to go with Boromir. And yet, what help could he or any of the company give Frodo, save to walk blindly with him into the darkness? "I shall go to Minas Tirith alone, if need be, for it is my duty," said Boromir. And after that he was silent for a while, sitting with his eyes fixed on Frodo, as if he was trying to read the halfling's thoughts. At length he spoke again, softly, as if he was debating with himself. "If you wish only to destroy the ring," he said, "then there is little use in war and weapons, and the men of Minas Tirith cannot help. But if you wish to destroy the armed might of the Dark Lord, then it is folly to go without force into his domain, and folly to throw away." He paused suddenly, as if he had become aware that he was speaking his thoughts aloud. "It would be folly to throw lives away, I mean." "Smooth," he ended. "It is a choice between defending a strong place and walking openly into the arms of death. At least, that is how I see it." Frodo caught something new and strange in Boromir's glance, and he looked hard at him. Plainly, Boromir's thought was different from his final words. It would be folly to throw away what? The Ring of Power? He had said something like this at the council, and then he had accepted the correction of Elrond. Frodo looked at Aragorn, but he seemed deep in his own thought and made no sign that he had heeded Boromir's words. And so their debate ended. Merry and Pippin were already asleep, and Sam was nodding. The night was growing old. Ooh, foreshadowing is a literary device. In the morning, as they were beginning to pack their slender goods, elves that could speak their tongue came to them and brought them many gifts of food and clothing for the journey. The food was mostly in the form of very thin cakes made of a meal that was baked a light brown on the outside, and inside was the color of cream. Gimli took up one of the cakes and looked at it with a doubtful eye. "Cram," he said under his breath as he broke off a crisp corner and nibbled at it. His expression quickly changed, and he ate all the rest of the cake with relish. "No more, no more," cried the elves, laughing. "You have eaten enough already for a long day's march." "I thought it was only a kind of cram, such as the Dale men made for journeys in the wild," said the dwarf. "So it is," they answered, "but we call it lembas, or whey bread, and it is more strengthening than any food made by men, and it is more pleasant than cram, by all accounts." "Indeed it is," said Gimli. "Why, it is better than the honey cakes of the Bjornings, and that is a great praise, for the Bjornings are the best bakers that I know of. But they are none too willing to deal out their cakes to travelers in these days. You are kindly hosts." "All the same, we bid you spare the food," they said. "Eat little at a time, and only at need, for these things are given to serve you when all else fails. The cakes will keep sweet for many, many days if they are unbroken and left in their leaf wrappings as we have brought them. One will keep a traveler on his feet for a day of long labor, even if he be one of the tall men of Minas Tirith." The elves next unwrapped and gave to each of the company the clothes they had brought. For each they had provided a hood and cloak made according to his size, of the light but warm silken stuff that the Galadrim wove. It was hard to say of what color they were. Gray with the hue of twilight under the trees they seemed to be, and yet if they were moved or set in another light, they were green as shadowed leaves, or brown as fallow fields by night, dusk silver as water under the stars. Each cloak was fastened about the neck with a brooch like a green leaf veined with silver. "Are these magic cloaks?" asked Pippin, looking at them with wonder. "I do not know what you mean by that," answered the leader of the elves. "They are fair garments, and the web is good, for it was made in this land. They are elvish robes, certainly, if that is what you mean. Leaf and branch, water and stone, they have the hue and beauty of all these things under the twilight of Lórien that we love, for we put the thought of all that we love into all that we make. Yet they are garments, not armor, and they will not turn shaft or blade. But they should serve you well. They are light to wear and warm enough or cool enough at need, and you will find them a great aid in keeping out of the sight of unfriendly eyes, whether you walk among the stones or the trees. You are indeed high in the favor of the lady, for she herself and her maidens wove this stuff, and never before have we clad strangers in the garb of our own people." Just a quick note here on magic. As I've said previously, I really like how magic in Middle-earth is not overt, it's subtler than that. Like, are these magic cloaks? And the elves are like, I don't know what the fuck that word means, but they are excellent camouflage. They'll keep you warm or cool according to what you need. And they are woven with the love of the Lady Galadriel, who is herself a very powerful being. So if the word you want to use for all that is magic, then yeah, bud, I suppose they're magic. But I really like, we put the thought of all that we love into all that we make. So the cloaks of Lórien are both an excellent camouflage tool, good for insulation, and also like they're not going to protect from being stabbed or shot. Like again, they're not armor, but they do carry that kind of goodwill of the elves woven into each strand. Like I love that that's where the magic is. So good. After their morning meal, the company said farewell to the lawn by the fountain. Their hearts were heavy, for it was a fair place, and it had become like home to them, though they could not count the days and nights that they had passed there. As they stood for a moment, looking at the white water in the sunlight, Haldir came wandering towards them over the green grass of the glade. Frodo greeted him with delight. "I have returned from the northern fences," said the elf, "and I am sent now to be your guide again. The Dimrill Dale is full of vapor and clouds of smoke, and the mountains are troubled. There are noises in the deeps of the earth. If any of you had thought of returning northwards to your homes, you would not have been able to pass that way. But come, your path now goes south." As they walked through Caras Galadon, the green ways were empty, but in the trees above them many voices were murmuring and singing. They themselves went silently. At last, Haldir led them down the southward slopes of the hill, and they came again to the great gate hung with lamps, and to the white bridge, and so they passed out and left the city of the elves. Then they turned away from the paved road and took a path that went off into a deep thicket of malorn trees, and passed on, winding through rolling woodlands of silver shadow, leading them ever down, southwards and eastwards, towards the shores of the river. They had gone some 10 miles, and noon was at hand, when they came on a high green wall. Passing through an opening, they came suddenly out of the trees. Before them lay a long lawn of shining grass, studded with golden Eleanor that glinted in the sun. The lawn ran out into a narrow tongue between bright margins. On the right and west the silver lode flowed glittering. On the left and east, the great river rolled its broad waters, deep and dark. On the further shores, the woodland still marched on southwards as far as the eye could see, but all the banks were bleak and bare. No Malorn lifted its gold-hung boughs beyond the land of Lórien. On the bank of the Silver Lode, at some distance up from the meeting of the streams, there was a height of white stones and white wood. By it were moored many boats and barges. Some were brightly painted and shone with silver and gold and green, but most were either white or gray. 3 small gray boats had been made ready for the travelers, and in these the elves stowed their goods, and they added also coils of rope, 3 to each boat. Slender they looked, but strong, silken to the touch, gray of hue like the elven cloaks. "What are these?" asked Sam, handling one that lay upon the green sward. "Ropes indeed," answered an elf from the boats. "Never travel far without a rope." "And one that is long and strong and light. Such are these. They may be a help in many needs." "You don't need to tell me that," said Sam. "I came without any, and I've been worried ever since. But I was wondering what these were made of, knowing a bit about rope making. It's in the family, as you might say." "These are made of Hithlane," said the elf, "but there is no time now to instruct you in the art of their making. Had we known that this craft delighted you, we could have taught you much. But now, alas, unless you should at some time return hither, you must be content with our gift. May it serve you well." "Come," said Haldir, "all is now ready for you. Enter the boats, but take care at first." "Heed the words," said the other elves. "These boats are light built, and they are crafty and unlike the boats of other folk. They will not sink, lade them as you will, but they are wayward if mishandled. It would be wise if you accustomed yourselves to stepping in and out, here where there is a landing place, before you set off downstream." The company was arranged in this way. Aragorn, Frodo, and Sam were in one boat, Boromir, Merry, and Pippin in another, and in the third were Legolas and Gimli, who had now become fast friends. Boyfriends! They're boyfriends! In this last boat, most of the goods and packs were stowed. The boats were moved and steered with short-handled paddles that had broad leaf-shaped blades. When all was ready, Aragorn led them on a trial up the Silverlode. The current was swift, and they went forward slowly. Sam sat in the bows, clutching the sides and looking back wistfully to the shore. The sunlight glittering on the water dazzled his eyes. As they passed beyond the green field of the Tongue, the trees drew down to the river's brink. Here and there golden leaves tossed and floated on the rippling stream. The air was very bright and still, and there was a silence, except for the high, distant song of larks. They turned a sharp bend in the river, and there, sailing proudly down the stream toward them, they saw a swan of great size. The water rippled on either side of the white breast beneath its curving neck. Its beak shone like burnished gold, and its eyes glinted like jets set in yellow stones. Its huge white wings were half lifted. A music came down the river as it drew nearer, and suddenly they perceived that it was a ship, wrought and carved with elven skill in the likeness of a bird. 2 elves clad in white steered it with black paddles. In the midst of the vessel sat Celeborn, and behind him stood Galadriel, tall and white. A circlet of golden flowers was in her hair, and in her hand she held a harp, and she sang. Sad and sweet was the sound of her voice in the cool, clear air. "I sang of leaves of gold, and leaves of gold there grew. Of wind I sang, a wind there came, and in the branches blew. Beyond the sun, beyond the moon, the foam was on the sea, and by the strand of Ilmarinen there grew a golden tree. Beneath the stars of ever eve in Eldamar it shone, in Eldamar beside the walls of elven Tirion. There long the golden leaves have grown upon the branching years, while here beyond the sundering seas now fall the elven tears. O Lórien, the winter comes, the bare and leafless day. The leaves are falling in the stream, the river flows away. O Lórien, too long I have dwelt upon this hither shore, and in a fading crown have twined the golden Eleanor. But if of ships I now should sing, what ship would come to me? What ship would bear me ever back across so wide a sea?" Aragorn stayed his boat as the swan ship drew alongside. The lady ended her song and greeted them. "We have come to bid our last farewell," she said, "and to speed you with blessings from our land." "Though you have been our guests," said Celeborn, "you have not yet eaten with us, and we bid you, therefore, to a parting feast, here between the flowing waters that will bear you far from Lórien." The swan passed on slowly to the height, and they turned their boats and followed it. There, in the last end of Egladil, upon the green grass, the parting feast was held. But Frodo ate and drank little, heeding only the beauty of the lady and her voice. She seemed no longer perilous or terrible, nor filled with hidden power. Already she seemed to him, as by men of later days, elves still at times are seen, present and yet remote, a living vision of that which has already been left far behind by the flowing streams of time. After they had eaten and drunk, sitting upon the grass, Celeborn spoke to them again of their journey, and lifting his hand, he pointed south to the woods beyond the tongue. As you go down the water, he said, you will find that the trees will fail, and you will come to a barren country. There the river flows in stony vales amid high moors, until at last, after many leagues, it comes to the tall island of the Tindrock that we call Tol Brandir. There it casts its arms about the steep shores of the isle, and falls then with a great noise and smoke over the cataracts of Rauros, down into the Nindalf, the Wetwang, as it is called in your tongue. That is a wide region of sluggish fen where the stream becomes tortuous and much divided. There the Entwash flows in by many mouths from the forest of Fangorn in the west. About that stream, on this side of the great river, lies Rohan. On the further side are the bleak hills of the Emyn Wheel. The wind blows from the east there, for they look out over the dead marshes and the no-man lands to Cirith Gorgor and the black lands of Mordor. Boromir, and any that go with him seeking Minas Tirith, will do well to leave the great river above Rauros and cross the Entwash before it finds the marshes. Yet, they should not go too far up that stream, nor risk becoming entangled in the forest of Fangorn. That is a strange land, and is now little known, but Boromir and Aragorn doubtless do not need this warning. But I need some water. I am loving Celeborn giving them like MapQuest directions. Like landmarks and stuff. He's like printing out like 14 A4 pages to be like, here, watch out for all this. Check out this, avoid that. I love it. Indeed, we have heard of Fangorn and Minas Tirith, said Boromir, but what I have heard seems to me for the most part old wives' tales, such as we tell to our children. All that lies north of Rohan is now to us so far away that fancy can wander freely there. Of old, Fangorn lay upon the borders of our realm, but it is now many lives of men since any of us visited it, to prove or disprove the legends that have come down from distant years. I have myself been at whiles in Rohan, but I have never crossed it northwards. When I was sent out as messenger, I passed through the gap by the skirts of the White Mountains and crossed the Isen and the Grey Flood into Northerland. A long and wearisome journey. 400 leagues I reckoned it, and it took me many months, for I lost my horse at Tharbad and the fording of the Grey Flood. After that journey and the road I have trodden with this company, I do not much doubt that I shall find a way through Rohan, and Fangorn too, if need be. Then I need say no more, said Celeborn, but do not despise the lore that has come down from distant years, for oft it may chance that old wives keep in memory word of things that once were needful for the wise to know. Celeborn, yes! Fucking get him, tell! I love it. Now, Galadriel rose from the grass, and taking a cup from one of her maidens, she filled it with a white mead and gave it to Celeborn. Now it is time to drink the cup of farewell, she said. Drink, Lord of the Galadrim, and let not your heart be sad, though night must follow noon, and already our evening draweth nigh. Then she brought the cup to each of the company, and bade them drink and farewell. But when they had drunk, she commanded them to sit again on the grass, and chairs were set for her and for Celeborn. Her maidens stood silent about her, and a while she looked upon her guests. At last she spoke again. We have drunk the cup of parting, she said, and the shadows fall between us. But before you go, I have brought in my ship gifts which the Lord and Lady of the Galadrim now offer to you in memory of Lórien. Then she called to each in turn. Here is the gift of Celeborn and Galadriel to the leader of your company, she said to Aragorn, and she gave him a sheath that had been made to fit his sword. It was overlaid with a tracery of flowers and leaves wrought of silver and gold, and on it were set in elven runes formed of many gems the name Andúril and the lineage of the sword. The blade that is drawn from this sheath shall not be stained or broken, even in defeat, she said. But is there aught else that you desire of me at our parting? For darkness will flow between us, and it may be that we shall not meet again, unless it be far hence upon a road that has no returning. And Aragorn answered, Lady, you know all my desire, and long held in keeping the only treasure that I seek. Yet it is not yours to give me, even if you would, and only through darkness shall I come to it. Yet maybe this will lighten your heart, said Galadriel, for it was left in my care to be given to you should you pass through this land. Then she lifted from her lap a great stone of a clear green, set in a silver brooch that was wrought with the likeness of an eagle with outspread wings. And as she held it up, the gem flashed like the sun shining through the leaves of spring. This stone I gave to Celebrian, my daughter, and she to hers, and now it comes to you as a token of hope. In this hour take the name that was foretold for you, Elessar, the elf stone of the house of Elendil. Then Aragorn took the stone and pinned the brooch upon his breast, and those who saw him wondered, for they had not marked before how tall and kingly he stood, and it seemed to them that many years of toil had fallen from his shoulders. For the gifts that you have given me, I thank you, he said. O Lady of Lórien, of whom were sprung Celebrian and Arwen Evenstyre. I can't read today, y'all. Arwen Evenstyre. Evenstyre? What praise could I say more? The lady bowed her head, and she turned them to Boromir, and to him she gave a belt of gold, and to Merry and Pippin she gave small silver belts, each with a clasp wrought like a golden flower. To Legolas she gave a bow such as the Galadrim used, longer and stouter than the bows of Mirkwood, and strung with a string of elf hair. With it went a quiver of arrows. For you, little gardener and lover of trees, she said to Sam, I have only a small gift. She put into his hand a little box of plain gray wood, unadorned save for a single silver rune upon the lid. Here is set G for Galadriel, she said, but also it may stand for garden in your tongue. In this box there is earth from my orchard, and such blessings as Galadriel has still to bestow is upon it. It will not keep you on your road, nor defend you against any peril, but if you keep it and see your home again at last, then perhaps it may reward you. Though you should find all barren and laid waste, there will be few gardens in Middle-earth that will bloom like your garden if you sprinkle this earth there. Then you may remember Galadriel and catch a glimpse far off of Lórien that you have seen only in our winter. For our spring and our summer are gone by, and they will never be seen on earth again save in memory. Sam went red to the ears and muttered something inaudible as he clutched the box and bowed as well as he could. And what gift would a dwarf ask of the elves? Said Galadriel, turning to Gimli. None, lady, answered Gimli. It is enough for me to have seen the Lady of the Galadrim and to have heard her gentle words. Hear, all ye elves, she cried to those about her. Let none say again that dwarves are grasping and ungracious. Yet, surely, Gimli, son of Glowing, you desire something that I could give. Name it, I bid you. You shall not be the only guest without a gift. There is nothing, Lady Galadriel, said Gimli, bowing low and stammering. Nothing unless it might be, unless it is permitted to ask, nay, to name, a single strand of your hair, which surpasses the gold of the earth as the stars surpass the gems of the mine. I do not ask for such a gift, but you commanded me to name my desire. The elves stirred and murmured with astonishment, and Celeborn gazed at the dwarf in wonder, but the lady smiled. It is said that the skill of the dwarves is in their hands rather than in their tongues, she said. Yet that is not true of Gimli, for none have ever made to me a request so bold and yet so courteous. And how shall I refuse, since I commanded him to speak? But tell me, what would you do with such a gift? Treasure it, lady, he said, in memory of your words to me at our first meeting. And if ever I return to the smithies of my home, it shall be set in imperishable crystal, to be an heirloom of my house, and a pledge of goodwill between the mountain and the wood until the end of days. Then the lady unbraided one of her long tresses and cut off 3 golden hairs and laid them in Gimli's hand. These words shall go with the gift, she said. I do not foretell, for all foretelling is now vain. On one hand lies darkness, and on the other only hope. But if hope should not fail, then I say to you, Gimli, son of Glowing, that your hand shall flow with gold, and yet over you gold shall have no dominion. And you, ring-bearer, she said, turning to Frodo, I come to you last who are not last in my thoughts. For you, I have prepared this. She held up a small crystal phial. It glittered as she moved it, and rays of white light sprang from her hand. In this phial, she said, is caught the light of Erendiel's star, set amid the waters of my fountain. It will shine still brighter when night is about you. May it be a light to you in dark places, when all other lights go out. Remember Galadriel and her mirror. Frodo took the phial, and for a moment as it shone between them, he saw her again standing like a queen, great and beautiful, but no longer terrible. He bowed, but found no words to say. Chat. Things are about to get uncomfortably personal. Yeah, dog. Like Gimli being like, I mean, I don't want anything, but if you're gonna press me, I want that sweet hair. And Celeborn gazed at the dwarf in wonder, like, how dare you? But Galadriel's a woman of her own will. She's gonna do what she wants. And she wants to give him 3. So sweet. I love it. Now the lady arose, and Celeborn led them back to the height. A yellow noon lay on the green land of the tongue, and the water glittered with silver. All at last was made ready. The company took their places in the boats, as before. Crying farewell, the elves of Lórien with long grey poles thrust them out into the flowing stream, and the rippling waters bore them slowly away. The travelers sat still without moving or speaking. On the green bank near to the very point of the tongue, the Lady Galadriel stood alone and silent. As they passed her, they turned, and their eyes watched her slowly floating away from them. For so it seemed to them, Lórien was slipping backward, like a bright ship masted with enchanted trees, sailing on to forgotten shores, while they sat helpless upon the margin of the grey and leafless world. Even as they gazed, the silver load passed out into the currents of the great river, and their boats turned and began to speed southward. Soon the white form of the lady was small and distant. She shone like a window of glass upon a far hill in the westering sun, or as a remote lake seen from a mountain, a crystal fallen in a lap of the land. Then it seemed to Frodo that she lifted her arms in a final farewell, and far but piercing clear on the following wind came the sound of her voice singing. But now she sang in the ancient tongue of the elves beyond the sea, and he did not understand the words. Fair was the music, but it did not comfort him. Yet, as is the way of elvish words, they remained graven in his memory, and long afterwards he interpreted them as well as he could. The language was that of elven song, and spoke of things little known on Middle-earth. And I am really sorry for what's about to happen. I Lorie lantar lasi surinen, yeni unotime ve ramar ad aldaran, yeni ve linte yuldar avanie, mi oromardi lise miro vurevra. Andune pella vardo telumar, nu luini yasan tintilar I eleni, omario eretari lerinen. Ron, stop. Ron says it's so melodious, a treat to the ear. Yeah, I feel like I'm back in Italian class where my professor was like, you talk with your hands, you speak Italian. My heart's in the right place, okay? I'm trying. Siman iuma nin enquantinuva. Like, where is Liv Tyler when I need her? Where is Kate Blanchett when I need her? Girls, help me. Ansi tintale varda oioloseo. Ve fanyar mariat elentari ortane. Ar ilie tier undulave lumbulue. Ar sinda noriello caita mornie. I falmalinar imbe met ar hisie untupa calakirio miri oiele. Si vanua na romelo vanua valimar, namarie, nai hiruvalier valimar, nai elie hiruva namarie. Elves are actually Italians, noted, close enough probably. Thank you, chat. I will take that. Thank you so much. And yeah, this is extremely Italian coded to me. Also, as a person who plays a musical instrument, I'm really good at sight reading. Even if I learned how to pronounce Elvish, that's the best that's ever going to go for me. So thank you for witnessing. Ah, like gold fall the leaves in the wind, long years numberless as the wings of trees. The years have passed like swift draughts of the sweet mead in lofty halls beyond the west, beneath the blue vaults of Varda, wherein the stars tremble in the song of her voice, holy and queenly. Who now shall refill the cup for me? For now the kindler, Varda, the queen of the stars, from Mount Everwhite has uplifted her hands like clouds, and all paths are drowned deep in shadow, and out of a gray country darkness lies on the foaming waves between us, and mist covers the jewels of Calakiria forever. Now lost, lost to those from the east is Valimar. Farewell. Maybe thou shalt find Valimar. Maybe even thou shalt find it. Farewell. Varda is the name of that lady whom the elves in these lands of exile name Elbereth. Could you not have just said that? Like, thank you. Suddenly, the river swept round a bend, and the banks rose upon either side, and the light of Lórien was hidden. To that fair land Frodo never came again. The travelers now turned their faces to the journey. The sun was before them, and their eyes were dazzled, for all were filled with tears. Gimli wept openly. I have looked the last upon that which was fairest, he said to Legolas, his companion. Henceforward I will call nothing fair unless it be her gift. He put his hand to his breast. Tell me, Legolas, why did I come on this quest? Little did I know where the chief peril lay. Truly, Elrond spoke, saying that we could not foresee what we might meet upon our road. Torment in the dark was the danger that I feared, and it did not hold me back. But I would not have come had I known the danger of light and joy. Now I have taken my worst wound in this parting, even if I were to go to this night straight to the Dark Lord. Even if I were to go this night straight to the Dark Lord. Alas for Gimli, son of Glóin. Ooh, he's down so bad. Oh, he's down the worst anyone's ever been, I think. Nay, said Legolas, alas for us all, and for all that walk in the world in these after days. For such is the way of it, to find and lose, as it seems to those whose boat is on the running stream. But I count you blessed, Gimli, son of Glóin. For your loss you suffer of your own free will, and you might have chosen otherwise. But you have not forsaken your companions, and the least reward that you shall have is that the memory of Lothlórien shall remain ever clear and unstained in your heart, and shall neither fade nor grow stale. Ron says in chat, it's like listening to a pretentious college who did a semester abroad and now says Roma and Capri. Yes, exactly. I would never deign to know how to speak Elvish, all right? And this is the first time I've read this book out loud, really. So thanks for bearing with. Like, I'm a nerd, but I'm not the type of nerd who learns how to speak Elvish. We're two different types. It's a really weird Venn diagram. Maybe, said Gimli, and I thank you for your words. True words, doubtless, yet all such comfort is cold. Memory is not what the heart desires. That is only a mirror, be it clear as Caladzaram. Or so says the heart of Gimli the dwarf. Elves may see things otherwise. Indeed, I have heard that for them memory is more like to the walking world than to a dream. Not so for dwarves. But let us talk no more of it. Look to the boat. She is too low in the water with all this baggage, and the great river is swift. I do not wish to drown my grief in cold water. He took up a paddle and steered towards the western bank, following Aragorn's boat ahead, which had already moved out of the middle stream. So the company went on their long way, down the wide, hurrying waters, borne ever southwards. Bare woods stalked along either bank, and they could not see any glimpse of the lands behind. The breeze died away, and the river flowed without a sound. No voice of bird broke the silence. The sun grew misty as the day grew old, until it gleamed in a pale sky like a high white pearl. Then it faded into the west, and dusk came early, followed by a gray and starless night. Far into the dark, quiet hours they floated on, guiding their boats under the overhanging shadows of the western woods. Great trees passed by like ghosts, thrusting their twisted, thirsty roots through the mist down into the water. It was dreary and cold. Frodo sat and listened to the faint lap and gurgle of the river, fretting among the tree roots and driftwood near the shore, until his head nodded, and he fell into an uneasy sleep. And so we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. That's the end of that chapter. And we've only got 2 left in Fellowship. Oh my God. So we're getting there, bud. We're going to be done with Fellowship in 2 weeks, and then it's onward to Two Towers, which, listen, just like everyone has a hard time picking which of the movies is their favorite, I have a really fucking hard time picking which book is my favorite because they're all really fucking good. So, now that we know that elves are Italian, actually, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to chat about in here. I like that when Frodo is looking at Galadriel after the episode with the mirror, he's like, she ain't so scary. It's not so bad. She's just a powerful ancient being. No big deal. I like that, you know, Galadriel's love language is gift giving, and she's really, really good at it. I like that Boromir gets a gold belt and then Merry and Pippin get silver belts. That's pretty cute. And yes, I do apologize for completely butchering the Elvish. I do the best I can. I'm so sorry. There's only so many hours in a day. But yeah, and then Gimli being like, I don't know. The danger is in light and joy, not in darkness. Like being hesitant to get too attached to the things he finds beautiful and wonderful because he knows they're not going to last. Baby, if that's not an overarching theme of this text, we're going to get into it because oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, is there a lot more of that theme to come. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. Cute little chapter. And I like how they're like, here, test out these boats, but get back out of the boats. We got to go have some food real quick. I really like that very much. And also the idea of like when Galadriel's swan ship is being described, they say that they hear music. So it's like the party boat is coming with the JBL speaker blasting. It's just her singing with the heart, but it makes me laugh. Chat, damn, can't believe how fast this is flying by. Can't believe we're only 2 chapters out. I've smashed it. Thank you. I'm trying really hard not to miss a week. For someone with like really bad planning and time management, I'm also pretty proud of myself. So thank you for seeing me. But yeah, I'll be back next week as per usual. Yes, in chat. See, this is like, I am not as up on my Silmarillion lore as I probably ought to be for someone with a Tolkien-themed YouTube channel, but I do know about Feanor, and he wanted some of Galadriel's hair, and he doesn't get any, and then Gimli gets 3 strands. Like, woo! Galadriel invented shade. Like, Galadriel and Gandalf together invented shade, I'm pretty sure. Like, that's where I learned that shit from. So good. And yeah, like courteous obsession is going to be rewarded. Open freakish obsession is going to be poo-pooed. And I think that's very fair. Yeah, we don't stand Feanor. Not in your house, not in my house, not in anyone's house, I don't think. You can fight me on that one, but and yeah, I'm thinking like when I'm done with Lord of the Rings, I might, don't quote me on this, but I might try to read the Silmarillion. And I'm going to be disappointed in myself that I didn't start with The Hobbit because it's so fun to read. But we'll get there. I'm looking way too far ahead. But yeah, I'll be back next week. I will post as usual about when I'm going to be streaming. It might be earlier in the week. We're going to see. Work is getting really busy for me right now. So I want to make sure I have time for this and give it the time it deserves because it's the Great River next. And then no spoilers. But yeah, thank you again for coming. I appreciate y'all being here. I speak Italian, and I will see you next week. You're having a kid? Congratulations. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Big ups to Fresh Prince in the chat. Soon to be parent. So fucking exciting. I'm thrilled for you, dude. Good luck. And I put all these up on my channel anyway. So if you're like staying up late with the baby and you need some boring lady to talk you back to sleep, I got you. This weekend potentially, God, that's so exciting. Good luck to you and your partner, and Godspeed to your new baby. That's thrilling. I'm so excited for you. Ron, we take our leave of you. I'm not even going to ask for a single strand of your hair. Good. Because this shit, I assume, was very expensive. My fire hair that I have right now. But yes, congrats, Fresh Prince. Thank you all again for coming and sitting with me for story time. We'll be back again next week. Be good, okay? Be careful in them boats. They might roll over. They're light of make, and their oars are mostly elemental. Elemental? Ornamental. I'm gonna leave before I keep talking. Bye.